Here we go!
What's up, nerds? My name's Bubba.
My name's Anna.
And you're watching and or listening to Church Nerds, and we are an LTN Podcast Network member, and we are so happy and proud to be here. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day, or maybe multiple times out of multiple days. I'm not really sure how people actually consume podcasts. Sometimes I consume them like that.
I mean, it's not up to us. You can do how you want to.
Yeah, but just do it the way we want.
No rules.
Just Jesus.
I wasn't gonna say it.
There's a church in our town that's their slogan. It's on a big, I almost said billboard. It's not really a billboard. It's just like a.
It's big enough to be a talking point in our town.
Yeah.
So you know. Anyway, my name is Anna. Mm-hmm. I'll introduce myself first, but it feels backwards and wrong. I'm Anna.
I'll allow it.
I am not the CEO and president
of
Love Thy Nerd or a founder. I am just me. I am married to someone who is all of those things, which is you.
Whoa, all of those things.
Is that not what you're going with anymore? I can't keep track.
No, I am. I've never been introduced like that. And
well, you're welcome. That's probably the best This is not good. This is not good talking that I'm doing today. Why? Enough about me. Yeah. This, if you are watching along with us, is Tom Nook.
The crook.
Yes. You got this for me.
I did.
When you were away on your latest and very, very long trip.
Yes.
And it still has the tags on it because the jury's out. I don't know if I'm going to keep them.
I got it at a flea market. You can't take it back.
Well,
I got it at the Peddler's Mall in New Albany, Indiana. And
still original tags, even at the flea market.
This thing was $10.
I know. I can see that.
I saw it and I was
actually $9.95.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that.
Anyway, Tom Nook, I feel like I need to fix his nose. This is a legit Animal Crossing thing.
Oh,
except his nose feels like the wrong shape. It just feels like this little thing needs to be tacked down just like that.
Or it needs to be filled out. Like
this doesn't need to be this pointy. They need to sew that just like that. Anyway, this is not the sewing podcast.
Not yet anyway.
This is the Church Nerds podcast. It was a busy week for us.
It was a busy week.
It was a different paced kind of week because this week for our school district, was spring break. The most wonderful time of the year.
False.
Said no parent ever.
Yeah,
well, unless they
parent.
were a teacher, in which they were living it up this week.
Yeah.
They were loving it. One of my teacher friends said she was doing all of the granny things that are her favorite things.
Oh.
Which were gardening, reading books, cooking, cleaning, and raising her chickens.
Those are all her favorite things?
Yes. Yes, they are.
We need to send her a Nintendo.
No, I don't think she wants that. I think she's happy. Anyway, so I did not have spring break. I still had a job. And you also tried to have a job, but were less successful at it, probably because 3 of 4 of our children were home with you. And their job this week was playing Fortnite.
Yeah, most of them. It got down to 2 of 4 of them. Their job was to play Fortnite. Anna is a little under the weather.
You can hear it a little bit in my throat, a little bit froggy, a little squeaky, and I did take a sick day. Kind of. I took a don't go into the office day, but still work.
Stay home and be annoyed.
Longer hours than you do at the office day.
Don't work as much.
I worked more. I just didn't answer phones.
I really appreciated the fact that I asked you like what was going on, saw the look on your face. You managed to, for whatever reason, set up shop in the kitchen, at the kitchen table.
Didn't have any other places to do it.
Terrible idea.
Have you seen my workspace in this house lately?
I'm just saying it was a bad idea.
Okay.
But
Unless you wanted me in here with you.
I thought you were going to come and sit right here on this couch.
It would have been nice. But here's the thing, is that when we both hole up in the same room, all of the kids are unmonitored out there.
How they are.
And even the smallest one was home that day. And he does like to open the gate and run into the street.
Well, we have a very high-tech security system.
It is a carabiner that sometimes we forget to put on. And I just wanted to sit in a place where I could be looking at the door.
So you did have that vantage point.
Yes.
And still somehow managed to miss him standing out in the road.
No, that was a different day.
That was a different day?
That was a different day. Oh. That was why I sat where I sat.
It was a very eventful weekend, and all of the stuff is blurring together for me.
Yes, he stood in the middle of a street in front of a car.
Imagine a 3-year-old.
Like he was stopping it.
A tiny 3-year-old.
Okay.
2.5 foot tall 3-year-old.
And that is what keeps me awake at night, some nights.
He also built a dam.
Anyway, he did.
Or a little retaining wall, as it were.
Several rocks in a row, because our road is not paved. I'm shattering illusions for everyone right now. We do not live in a fancy neighborhood at all. We live on a barely paved. They just poured some rocks over it.
It's paved underneath.
It was paved. Yeah. It got very dilapidated, and they were like, we don't really want to put the money into paving this again. We're just going to pour rocks over it. Yeah. And that's what they did.
Hey.
Several times.
Yeah. And they're really good at doing that.
It's probably about time for them to do it again.
So anyway, you hold up out here. Yes. You hold up out here, and I walked by, saw the look on your face, and you had the audacity to tell me it is very difficult to get work done.
I know.
At the house. And I was like, oh, please tell me more.
No, you asked me about it. And I just said, it's just hard to do work here. And I wasn't saying.
You did not say it like that.
I wasn't saying that I thought I was telling you anything earth shattering that you did not already know, because I'm very aware. You think I don't know this, but I do. I do know this. Yeah. I do know it. So anyway. Yes, 3 of 4 children were home with you while you tried to work. I think you did end up working.
A little bit.
But not only was it spring break, there were a couple of big deal holidays this week in Nerd World. Which were Mario Day, March 10th, and Pi Day. Is it our birthday this week?
No, it's almost our anniversary.
It is.
Yeah, I remember that today.
So we did some celebrating.
We did. We celebrated both of those things.
So I just thought we would talk about all of the ways that we celebrate these big deal holidays, which is...
It's going to be a short conversation.
Yeah, not very well. About like we do anything else. We're not actually very good planners at all.
You did come up to me on March the 10th, which is Mario Day.
Fairly early in the day.
And said, hey, we should do something. And I think you initially said a Mario Kart tournament.
I did originally say a Mario Kart tournament, and you said, or we could play Mario Party. And I said, yes, or we could play Mario Party. And we did. We played it, and nobody even had a fight.
I was very surprised.
We did have a big, serious moment with all of our kids, and we're like, hey, anybody can win this thing. It doesn't make you a bad player most of the time. There are a couple mini games that were kind of frustrating because it seemed like some people didn't quite get it. But
yeah.
I'm thinking of one. It's the one where the two of you, it's like a 2v2, and you're connected by a string, and you have to try to thread your string in such a configuration. And Bubba was on Levi's team. I don't know what he was doing. He struggled.
It has the thing. I'm watching the time. We don't have a lot of time. It has the image of what you're supposed to be doing in the middle of the thing.
You're looking right at it.
He was just guessing.
And we would be like, no, stand right here. Don't move. Don't move. Just stand right there.
So naturally,
he couldn't do it.
He'd loop around one of the pegs. Anyway.
Anyway, okay, so we did that.
We did that, and
Naomi won.
She was
handily.
She was getting stomped.
Yep, and as is typical in Mario Party, she came back and won. Well, she was the dark horse, you know.
Which is why you should probably never.
She wasn't the dark horse though, because Levi rolled.
Oh my gosh, he rolled
so many ones in a row, and it just became the running joke.
He got lapped by Naomi, who rolled a 0.
And when he didn't get a 1, when he got ones, we all laughed so hard. And when he got a 6, we all cheered.
We cheered.
So it was fun. Then for Pie Day, this is how it works. At about 8:45 in the evening, I said, was it that late? Maybe it wasn't that late. Hey, you know what day? It was 7 something.
It was 7.
Hey, it's Pie Day. What a waste of Pie Day. We didn't even eat pie. And you said, no, we didn't. And I said, we could get pie at H-E-B. And you said, yes, we could. And you did.
And then I went and got 2 pies. I got an apple pie and a cherry pie.
Only in my mind, the pies you were going to bring home were from the bakery section and were ready to eat.
Listen.
But in fact,
the
pies that you brought...
I bought frozen pies.
You brought 2 Marie Calendar pies
I didn't know.
They took like an hour to cook.
It did. And so we didn't eat pie until 10:30.
And while we were waiting for pie, Naomi watched parts of the Taylor Swift concert.
Most all of it, yeah.
Until I came out and was like, nope, not that song. Nope, we don't say that.
Yeah, we're not like super duper prudish, but we did have a conversation with her and we said, hey, Nene, some of Taylor's stuff is just not appropriate for a 9-year-old girl.
Yeah,
she goes,
you're
right.
Yeah. So
right.
Generally it's like, if there are 3 swear words in the first 30 seconds, we'll just fast forward that one.
Yeah. And we did.
Or
so it was
people dancing suggestively with chairs.
But dang, she was counting down. Like she saw that it was on Disney Plus and she was counting.
It's coming out at 6. Am I watching this thing today? 3 hours long.
Yeah, she loved it.
Wowie, wow.
She loved it. We got a little Swiftie.
That Taylor, she's getting it done.
A little swifter.
She said, this was hilarious. I was talking to Julian because Julian and I, while we do not live in the same area, we still keep up by cooking dinner at the same time and FaceTiming some days.
Yeah.
You know, just normal stuff.
Yeah.
Because we like to share the most mundane parts of our lives, apparently. So
that's true friendship.
It is. And we have been doing this for years.
Some of my best times with Matt are just like when we're in a car driving and not talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. We weren't FaceTiming, but as I've mentioned before, like during the pandemic, the only way we could see each other was to go to H-E-B at the same time because there were no rules about that.
Nope. Just Jesus.
That wasn't a gathering. It was just grocery shopping.
Yep.
And so we did. For every week that we were on weird lockdown rules, we just went to H-E-B at the exact same time, made appointments.
Yeah.
So
hang out with your friends.
Yeah. Anyway, Naomi is coming up to me and being like, am I watching Taylor Swift while I'm on the phone with Julian? Wait, why was I talking about this?
This is a fantastic question. I have no idea. What did Julian say?
Well,
she knew a lot about Taylor Swift. I can tell you that. More than I expected her to.
I don't even know if this is going to be appropriate. And Taylor Swift, of all of the people you could be following, and we have a lot of Swifties in the Love Thy Nerd community.
A lot of
people
know
a lot of Swifties in the entire world because everyone loves Taylor Swift.
Yeah, apparently she sells out shows everywhere she goes. That rhymed.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm the real Taylor Swift now.
Maybe so. Maybe
my song is a slamming screen door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't remember where I was going. My thought left my brain.
You were talking to Julian about Taylor Swift. Nene came up.
Yeah. Well, she was like, I mean, Taylor Swift's not the worst person that our children could have as a role model.
No.
And I was like, that's true. But, you know, there are still a few things that I was like, well, we're going to wait.
Yeah. Regardless of where you're going with
that
this
song.
Regardless of where you're going with that story, it was an okay show. Like it was more than okay. Like it's like she does work. Like she really does work.
Yes,
we were talking
about,
does she actually sing all the songs? Is like while she's dancing, is her mic live the whole time?
Because some people have said that she is the actual GOAT, and surpassed Michael Jackson.
Sir Michael Jackson, yeah,
as the king of pop.
She's the queen of pop.
And I mean,
maybe,
maybe. I don't know. But they were saying that under like based on her writing all her own stuff, performing all of her
multiple
own
times,
stuff
by the way,
live, which she is not the only writer of her songs. She has an entire team. She helps with writing all of her songs. And there was definitely a line where her microphone was all the way down and a full line of a song sang. And I was like, oh, well, that didn't seem live. I don't think her mouth was moving.
She's a ventriloquist.
But she does have also all of her backup singers. And maybe one of them sounds a lot like her.
I don't know. There were like 5.
Anyway.
What's this episode about? Taylor Swift?
Pi Day and Taylor Swift Day.
Got it.
And spring break and just general goings on in our home. So
moral of the story,
welcome.
When your wife sends you to go buy pies at 7:30 p.m., you don't buy frozen pies.
Don't get the frozen ones.
But if you do,
the ready-made.
Your daughter will be able to finish the Taylor Swift concert on Disney Plus. So there's an upside.
Yes.
Silver lining.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of Disney Plus and Taylor Swift, we're talking about something completely different.
Yes.
In the actual meat of this podcast. And you and I got to talking a little bit about this the other day. And it was this concept of like the state of arcades and like what that is. And you can think like Dave and Buster's. You can think, we have this place up the street called Mr. Gaddy's. We're going to even go back into our past and talk about some of the things that we had. But the interesting thing is nowadays, how old did that just sound? But in 2024, you cannot hardly go to an arcade without it being a ticket-based system.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Right. I mean, like, and I didn't go to arcades when I was younger. But like, I think about like Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Wreck-It Ralph arcade, where it's just a place with machines, and the whole thing is based on getting all of your quarters, and you show up, and the thing that you do is you enjoy playing that game and maybe become the best person at that game. And like the ultimate payoff of that is everybody in the arcade sitting there and watching you and being like, yeah, or oh, when you lose.
Yeah.
Like that is all you get.
Yeah.
That's all you get. So in our area, there's a place that has an arcade in it, but it's also like mini golf and go-karts, axe throwing for a while, but I think that isn't a thing anymore. I don't know.
Is it not?
Probably liability nightmare if I had to guess. I'm not really sure.
I wanted to do
roller skating, bowling, all the things. A restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's all. I think that's all that's there. Very popular birthday party space. It is very loud. I don't think there is a smidge of insulation in the entire building.
Why?
Yeah. So some friends of ours had a birthday party there. Mini golf with a 3-year-old is quite an experience. But
no, thank you.
Our kids do love the arcade there. And it's like one of those cards. You get so many dollars on your card if you're part of a birthday party.
Yeah.
And you get to go spend all your little dollars at the arcade, and it tracks your tickets that you earn on your card, and you go and redeem it for whatever garbage they have at that counter. And our kids have different strategies. Like, first of all, this is all a nightmare for me.
100%.
It is so loud, and our kids are running around like ants everywhere. And of course, this birthday party is while you're gone. Because similarly to this podcast needing to be recorded is a beacon for sickness. If you leave town, everybody schedules a thing. And I have an extra animal to watch.
Yeah, I think
that's just how it goes. And it's been that way for years.
You may be the only person in the world that doesn't have access to my calendar. Because it feels like everybody else does. Like, oh, Bubba's out. Schedule. Let's have a birthday party. Let's have a big church event. Let's have all of your family members need to be volunteering today. It's just crazy. So I'm solo parenting it. All of the kids are everywhere. And then the arcade is going on. And not only this, do we have this birthday party, but also another friend's party. That's a really important party because, it's not that some people's parties aren't important, but this is like some friends of ours who are having a baby and it's like, it's a big deal. Yeah. Okay. I thought they were both the same spot.
I need to make it to this other place. So we have to get out by this time.
Yes.
But where do we get stuck? The dang it ticket counter. Because they got to get their lollipops and weird sticky things and Nerf guns that don't work. And
they're not supposed to work.
Like the thing it just drives me crazy that we can't just go and have fun while we're playing. We have to have like all of that stuff breaks in the car. On the way home.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they still all fight about it. I would rather they just all have candy, maybe. I don't know. But they definitely have different strategies.
Yeah.
Like Levi, he wants to play a game, that's fun. Caleb, he's like those old people who go to Vegas and play slot machines. He goes to that like big wheel thing or like whatever has... biggest payout, he will go and spend all of his money on that. And guess what?
It works.
It worked.
He always has the most tickets.
He hit the $1,000 spot. Yes.
1,000 tickets.
Yes. The 1,000 ticket spot, which 1,000 tickets can get you like,
it's like $1,
a slightly larger piece of garbage. Like double size piece of garbage.
Double the size piece of garbage.
To get anything that is even remotely cool, you would probably have to spend several nights over the summer, your entire family working toward one goal.
Yeah. So it's not all garbage, right? It's not all garbage. Like you can get...
Like say you want a lava lamp. There's always a lava lamp in those things.
Lava lamp, Nintendo Switch.
Oh, no way.
It's there. It's there. But it's there though. That's like, it's not all garbage. But like
the amount of money that you would spend at this place that shall not be named.
Any place that shall not be named. Any of them.
You would probably spend $1,000 on that Switch.
That's the whole point. When we started talking about this in the car, that was the crux of this entire conversation. We were driving past one of the spaces in town and you're like, hey, have you been in there yet? And I was like, no. And I have no desire to go in there.
Because it looks like just an arcade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, cool. And you're like, no, it's one of those ticket places.
It's a ticket place.
Like, no, dang it.
And so the thing of it is like the games that are not ticket based are much more expensive to play than the ticket based games. You want to play the skee ball. You want to play the big wheel. Caleb really loves that little, you pound on the thing and the little red balls drop. He loves to play that.
I do like skee ball. That's some good memories with my dad right there.
So like you can play, basketball and all sorts of, you can play all of the carnival-esque games and they'll get you tickets. And even some of the other ones get you tickets now too. But like, hey, you want to sit down and you just want to play the Jurassic Park shooter game? It's going to be $2.50. Yeah, something like that.
Half of your birthday party card. I can't talk today, y'all.
And like the whole idea behind arcade games is they are designed, you said this at the beginning, from way back when, to eat your quarters. I mean, they are significantly harder than like the console home versions of these games.
Right.
Because
well, I mean, and if you watch documentaries about arcade games, like programmers have been big into them. Here's a quick money making like opportunity. If you were a programmer, you'd make a game program. But then eventually people would get so good at it that your revenue started to slow down because people could play. You need people to lose and have to put in another quarter.
Yep.
And so then they would have to redesign, and then you'd get a big stream again for a while.
Yep.
You know, until people learned that game.
Yeah.
So
they would literally come in and replace like the boards inside of the systems that had the updated intelligence and
if you've never watched a documentary about it, it's pretty interesting.
So whenever like fighting games came in, like that was constant revenue because it didn't matter how good you were. It wasn't you against the machine. It was you against another person.
Right. Yeah. And there's yeah. Which, by the way, I was like, let's talk about our arcade experiences, which is hilarious because
tell me about your arcade experience.
You tell me like about going and putting a quarter down when you're ready to play a game or whatever. Mm-hmm. My entire experience, if we're not talking about Dave & Buster's, that was like some fun. When I said like fun with my dad playing skee ball or whatever, we'd go on like dates or whatever, daddy-daughter dates. Dave & Buster's was probably my favorite one of those that we ever had. And, but outside of that, Cece's Pizza. The game room at Cece's Pizza, $2.99 buffet. Was it $2.99? I think it was $2.99.
All you can eat for only $2.99.
What? That is crazy cheap, by the way. I know why my parents took our family of 6 with 2 teenage boys to Cece's Pizza, which we had a different name for.
Oh, yeah. We won't say it, but it rhymes with Cece's Pizza. My mom used to work at the Kmart
next door
in town, and Cece's
shared the parking lot
right there. And I didn't get to eat there nearly as much as I wanted to.
Oh, why
if I were my mom, I would have said, "Hey,
dude, just spend the afternoon there.
This is your
eat all that." Maybe Cece's came over and was like, "Kmart, you have to tell your employees they are not allowed to use this as a daycare." They had a game room, which had, the claw machine, but it had Mortal Kombat, and it had a driving game of some kind,
probably a shooter.
And a shooter. And I definitely was from a family that was like, arcade games. What a waste of money. What a waste of money and time. Also, Mortal Kombat. There's blood and violence.
Combat with a K. That's the devil's work.
And that guy's eyes are glowing. And someday, that judgmental middle schooler would have a Mortal Kombat machine in her house that her children
It's in her shed right now. So
because her husband is, one of those people.
I'm one of those.
Anyway.
Got him.
You probably played you probably have arcade experience outside of the game room at Cece's Pizza.
Absolutely, I do. Yeah. I mean, we had an arcade in our mall. We used to call it the hall or the small. Because there wasn't much of it. It wasn't
even the Great Hall.
No. It was one thoroughfare, and then it had, I think, 2 offshoots.
Hey, did we work at the mall at the same time?
Doubt it. Where'd you work?
I worked at Dillard's.
Oh, that's right. I knew that.
I worked at Dillard's.
That's how funny. So like our mall started off.
I think I was 17.
Oh, maybe then. Yeah.
Or 8. No, I was 18. I was 18.
Then no.
Oh, rats.
No, then no. I was managing Cyber City by then.
Oh.
So our mall started off attached like out the back door of a Walmart. And so think about anything like any JC Penney's or any Dillard's or whatever, but it was a Walmart. It just not even a superstore.
I forgot that the Walmart started in the mall.
Yeah.
Which one was the Walmart?
Dillard's.
Dillard's
was the Walmart, dude. Yeah, it was crazy. And so then Walmart moved to superstore location.
Yes.
Dillard's bought that, and then it became the mall, and then eventually malls did what a lot of malls did.
Became decrepit.
Yes, they went the way of the dodo bird. And so...
Yeah, like you were lucky if you could find a storefront that was occupied.
But we did have an arcade. And so I could close my eyes and walk there. I went there so many times. And what was really great is you would come out of the back of Walmart, Dillard's, whatever it was, and then you would take the first right, and it was all the way down at the right.
Oh.
And there was a door there to the outside. So if you parked in the back, you just come in that door, go immediately to your left, and you're in there.
That was for all the bored people who didn't want to be shopping.
If you came in, or you drop your kids off, if you came in that door right next to it, and you just kept going straight, you'd run into EB Games.
Okay.
You would dead end into EB Games.
Yeah.
And so this was just like Nerd Central, right?
Yeah.
And then across the way, we had B. Dalton, which was a bookstore, which had a lot of...
B. Dalton.
I'm going to unlock a lot of memories for just 1 second. But so they would have a lot of like strategy guides and all sorts. So you could just like live in this little...
You did.
I did. Triangle spot. And then you go down and go to the food court or whatever. But like, there's not a lot of real estate, not a lot to do in the mall. And you had to be really careful because right across from the arcade was the Army recruiters.
Oh,
and so
very strategic right there.
Absolutely.
Go Army.
If they were doing their job,
is it still Go Army?
They would have left us alone because they were like, next. Anybody else? But anyway, so we would go in there and we would play, and like that's the thing. It was not big, not at all. It wasn't huge, but it was
dark.
It was large enough to have like a lot of really great games in there. And I was there when it was in its heyday, and I watched it go down and tank.
Like Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph times.
Oh no,
Wreck-It Ralph was way more like that arcade was way more poppin' than what we had.
Not in the beginning of the movie.
No, but still, even then, they had more games. It was better. But as it was, like I got to watch like games like Mortal Kombat 4, like come brand new to that arcade. And oh my gosh, when a new arcade game dropped, you couldn't play it. You just couldn't play it.
Long lines.
I mean, massive. Didn't matter what day you went or anything like that. There were always people there. So you needed
to be homeschooled and go during school time.
Don't think I didn't talk about it with my parents. But
except if you're homeschooled, you're not allowed to play Mortal Kombat.
No, that's probably true. But you would go and you would put your quarter, and people honored that. Mm-hmm. Like when I sit down and think about that for a little bit, that it kind of blows my mind that I'm like, I got next. And nobody's ever like, get out of here, Pipsqueak, we're playing. Like,
because it wasn't a movie.
Yeah. None of that stuff. They would get in line, or they would ask, hey, can I play another? You know, like sometimes that did happen, but you knew that like they're not playing the new Spider-Man game where it's going to take 15 days or whatever to beat it. It's like, it's just going to be a couple more minutes, you know? And so it was really good. But I mean, all that being said, what did we get out of that?
Nothing.
Not tickets.
No tickets.
I'll tell you
just, you get to pass the time. You get to know about the new thing. Yep. It's a talking point.
There were, I will say this, there were probably 3 things that were ticket machines. Because we had skee ball. We had basketball. We had way better basketball than we have now. Okay. So it was on a track. It would go back and forth, and you shot the little balls.
Yeah.
And so that was really fun. And all of the balls were different NBA teams.
I'm embarrassed to play the basketball games. I'm not good at throwing stuff.
We went to a spot, little plug for if you live in the New Albany, Louisville area. Okay. There's a place called Rec Bar in New Albany. Fantastic.
Yeah.
This place is legit. Okay.
Is it on Matt's Instagram? Not a sponsor.
Yes, it is. Yeah, TikTok, Instagram,
oh, sorry.
Facebook Reels. He's on all the things these days. Retro Matt. And so, is it Retro Matt Prime? Matt knows. We'll put it in the show notes. But at the end of the day, like it's a restaurant, and then it's also old school arcade games. And you know what they don't do?
Tickets. See, like, I feel like that's refreshing because, first of all, I'm not a true minimalist. I actually think that I've dabbled in it, and I think that minimalism is actually a very privileged way to live.
Sure.
But I am anti like waste.
Okay.
And the more of that stuff comes into my house, it stresses me out because I think about all of the manufacturing and labor and stuff that goes into it.
Yes. For
it to just be something to argue over and fall apart and that I throw in the garbage at my house.
You know,
and I don't like any of that.
I'm a verbal processor.
Okay.
That's
why we have a podcast.
It's why I have been on many podcasts and starting up live streaming and all sorts of stuff again. I just always have things to say about things. And I'm having this thought in the moment. Okay.
You have 1 minute.
My business brain is kind of turned on for just a second. And so here's the thing. What if anybody who is going to open one of these things or has one of these things, tell me what you think, or just do it for all I care. What if things were ticket based? Okay. As they already are. Leave it as it is. But the tickets don't buy you garbage. The tickets they
buy you more minutes.
Drinks. Or they get you snacks or whatever. So the money is going back into the stuff that you're doing. And it actually has some purpose to the person, because us getting a 10 segmented little caterpillar centipede thing that the kids are just going to rip apart and leave all over the house, or sticky hands that we're going to find hanging above or anything,
containers of slime.
Mother loving slime. I would
end up on my comforter. Ow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you need to calm down, lady.
I'm really upset by this.
That was good. That one's going to get on TikTok. But if all of that money poured back into that moment and that moment only, or you could use it to get more
good
tokens.
Family night. Well, that was one of my things that I wanted to just, how could we do a night at these places just a little bit differently and not have it centered around how do I get all of these tickets so that I can bring all this stuff home, but more just like, how do we just have a really good experience? And I was thinking maybe we need to have play a game that is like, we tell our kids at the beginning, hey, we're not taking any of these tickets home. We're going to donate them to somebody else.
Which we're just do that anyway.
We do that sometimes.
Yeah.
We are going to have teams, or we're going to see who can get the highest score on such and such a game, or see if we can make a collective score of such and such.
Yeah. I
don't know. Having some other family goal, I think might redeem the whole experience for me.
I like that a lot. And if you all are going to try this, and please let us know what your experiences are and have been already. We're super interested. Hit us up on social media at Love Thy Nerd, #ChurchNerds, and just tell us kind of what's going on with your arcade experiences, good or bad, right? I think either one we would like to know. But as we start to kind of move forward in the show, we also like to talk about the spiritual side of some of these topics. So if this is your first time with us here at Love Thy Nerd, especially on Church Nerds, we like to take this topic that we're talking about and try to think about it from two different lenses, like the nerd kind of pop culture side, and then also does it have any spiritual significance? Because one of the things we really like to do with LTN is help people think more critically and Christianly about the content that they're consuming and just the way that they experience the world around them. Free Play Podcast is a podcast that we're kind of bringing to a close this season. Yep, sad face. But on that podcast, we like to talk about things, what are we reading, watching, playing, and experiencing in nerd culture? And so that being said, we want to take those ideas and those ideals and move them over into a spiritual nature. So, hey, you are going to the arcade, tickets, all that stuff. That got us thinking about things in the spiritual side of things. And it really immediately brought up to my mind, the consumeristic Christianity that we have. And because the idea, right? We've just been talking about this for a while, is that with the ticket, you're going to the arcade and you're spending all your time and your money, most people anyway, your time and your money trying to get the most tickets in order to get the little pieces of garbage. Okay. So then I start thinking about like church. Mm-hmm. I start thinking about the time, because we've spent most of our lives in church.
Yeah.
If not all of our life in church. You've spent more of your life in church than I've spent of mine in it.
Yeah.
And anybody who's spent a significant amount of time in it beyond just kind of attending and whatever, like you've probably started to see this idea of, well, what am I getting out of church? What's church doing for me? Mm-hmm. I would love, I'd be happy to follow God if X, Y, and Z. Like, what's the return on this investment that I am pouring into it? And so that's kind of where we're going to spend the next couple of minutes talking about things, is like, what is the state of like consumerism in church? And again, we don't answer any questions on Church Nerd. We don't have the answer for anything that you're really looking for.
Sorry.
Yeah, we just like to bring up conversation and talk about things.
Yeah, just ask you some pillow questions, or you can go home and talk about it, or you can talk to us about it if you want to.
Can do that.
Yeah, like, do we go into worship, or do we go into serving, or whatever it is, always expecting something back? Like, is there some spiritual equivalent to a fistful of tickets or a loaded up little credit card that makes us feel really important when we are 5 years old? You know, for us as grown adults, sometimes going to church and feeling like, yes, I feel like I got something out of this. Yeah. And, you know, it's not to say that there's anything entirely like I'm not writing that off as a whole. I think that if you have been involved in church your whole life and felt like you got nothing out of it, I might ask some questions about your church.
Yeah, that would be problematic. Or
how you're reading the Bible, or, you know, all kinds of things. But I do think there is a tendency in the church world, it sounds like, well, I'm just not getting fed. Like, is being fed what you're getting out of it?
Yeah.
Heavy air quotes on that. Is it close friendships that you feel like you need to find your new besties at church? Because sometimes there's dry spells at church. Sometimes you go to a group and you actually don't really connect with anyone there. There are dry spells. There are churches that struggle with that. There are whole cities that struggle with that. Sometimes it's a cultural thing. Maybe the thing, I sound like a televangelist or something. Maybe it's this person. Maybe it's that person. Some of us go into worship fully expecting like the goosebumps experience. Yeah. Like, I just met with the Lord
Not
today.
Not like the R.L. Stein books.
This is not Night of the Living Dummy
here. Yeah.
No, just like, you know, feeling like you had to have some emotional experience at worship, or end up crying or something like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of those people in high school.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to downplay emotional experiences at worship. Please hear me. Sure. I'm not trying to downplay those things, but sometimes we have these things as qualifiers in our mind that if we don't have this experience somewhere or at a certain church, that we just didn't get enough out of it, and we're going to move on. Sometimes it isn't those things. Sometimes it's like the pat myself on the back, or the recognition of like being a really good server, like servant.
Yeah.
The old faithful. Or sometimes it is people who need an entire room full of people to sit there and listen to them.
Yeah.
While they are talking.
I struggle with that.
Oh, it's getting real.
No, I mean, like, honestly, like, that's it's really difficult for me. And even when we started this podcast, and really when we started every podcast, it was like we feel like we had something to say, a voice to add to whatever, right? In the different areas. But I try not to think about the numbers. I really do. I try not to, worry about how many people are listening or viewing or doing whatever. But man, there's just something about that feeling of there being a bunch of people that are like, yeah. I had somebody just the other day. Okay.
I don't think there are. We were doing okay. And then we took a really, really long break.
Well, we got Tom Nook. We got a new.
Oh, okay. Yep. New podcast host.
Which it's actually pretty fitting that this is the episode that he debuted on. Because he's a crook. He's just
all
out
in
for
it for whatever he can get. He wants all your tickets, all your bells.
But I think that like as we start to kind of move forward with all of these things, a little bit of introspection and not just go, hey, what are you dealing with? I try as best as I can to kind of move into these situations with that mindset, because I know that if I'm not moving forward, if I'm not progressing, if I'm not constantly in some form of change, like, Romans 12:1-2, offer your body as a living sacrifice. Like this is this constant transformation, metamorphosis process here. If I'm not constantly doing that, how in the world am I going to try and help other people understand that like you're not done cooking yet either, right? So one of the things that I thought about as you were kind of going through this was sometimes we get things out of church that are absolutely all the stuff on this list, or we're looking for those things. And sometimes we're looking, hey, come and fix me. Mm-hmm. There's a thing that is broken within me that I know, or somebody has made very clear is broken within me. Do that. Or even harder than that, I need you to fix
my spouse, my kids,
something else.
Yeah.
Right. And then
our family's really going through it. So we're going to show up at church now.
Yep. And we've heard dozens of those stories where people are like, yeah, I went to church and nothing really changed for my family. And I'm like, well, just being there is not always enough. Mm-hmm. Right. Like we say this all the time. And this is a stupid, saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Do you want to say it or do you want me to say it?
Going to McDonald's doesn't make you a hamburger.
Absolutely, it doesn't. Not a sponsor, unless they want to be. But it just being in the space doesn't create the change. It creates the opportunity for the change. But even you and I we're going through two different reading plans of the Bible. And we've talked about this a little bit on previous episodes of Church Nerds. But we're still both squarely in the Old Testament, and so
will be the entire year.
Ta-da!
Right.
Maybe.com. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know where mine's taking me.
Oh,
I'm just following the LTN Daily. Okay. I'm following the LTN Daily podcast playlist rather. And so you can find that at lovethynerd.com/daily if you are looking for a plan. And so the idea is that like in the Old Testament, like God was there. Uh-huh. But just because you were there with him doesn't mean that you were experiencing the fullness of the goodness of his glory. Like you may have been experiencing it completely improperly because you're not encountering him in the proper way, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not because you just didn't know how. Like you chose not to experience him in the proper way. And so us going to church, I think that it's different, okay? It's not the same as it was back in ye olden times. But if we just come to church and we're like, I'm just going to sit here in the pew, change me. Mm-hmm. Like that's not the way. Like that's not what God is looking for. He's interested in the relationship that we have with him and how that is expressed through our relationship with other people. And so it's super important that we don't just come in with this frontward facing consumeristic approach to Christianity.
Well, there's a lot of these things that, like I was saying, are like in and of themselves, if they are happening, it's not a bad thing to want those things to happen necessarily.
No.
It's just very difficult sometimes. The way I talk about this is like, you think you're building God's kingdom, but like some of your blocks get mixed in with some of his blocks. And then eventually, like, whose kingdom are you building? And then eventually there's going to be a wave washes in, and the sandy things, they're just going to wash right out. And, I think that building our own kingdom, and it slips in so like quietly, it can just masquerade as being so good sometimes. And it's easy to recognize these things in other people. It's hard to recognize these things in ourselves, that it's like, oh man, my motives for serving were not great. My heart coming into worship today was not good. Wasn't so good.
Not good.
What was I trying to fill by having this teaching role that I've had for years and years and years and years? And was that really pure, or was it really more self-seeking? Because I think that there's two things that we have to hold in tension, which is something we talk about a lot on this podcast. And I think that anybody who's truly following Jesus has to talk about this a lot.
Yep.
In the one hand, it's that things like community, things like fulfillment, they can come to us in the way that we are worshiping, in the way that we serve at church, because being faithful, living righteously, seeking God's kingdom first, like Jesus said, after he's talked about this long list of all of the things that people are trying to get and feeling deficient in, he's like, hey, stop worrying about all that stuff. Here's what you should do. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. So stop it. Just stop it.
For everybody who hummed along with me. Yeah.
He says those things are going to be added, so that there is going to be a return. That is true. And it's always been true throughout the Old Testament. The way that God told his people to live, it blessed them. Yeah. And it blessed not only them, but also all of the nations around them. If they were doing it properly and correctly, it paid to live in proximity with God's people. Those things are still true. If we are living in our communities in the way that Jesus set forth for us to live, those principles are going to add value to our lives.
That's one of the things that really stuck out to me in, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and now even into Deuteronomy, where I'm at right now, is the phrase, and the foreigners among you. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so where I'm at in Deuteronomy, it's in just the first couple of chapters, it's talking about even you're not going to be able to go into this land and invade it because I've given it to other people, but when you do, it's going to be good for everybody if you do it properly. Now you read it and there's a lot of stuff in there that's not super great for everybody. It's pretty gnarly.
It's hard to read.
But I was thinking about that just the other day, and I was like, man, the reason that stuff is happening is because they didn't do it properly. God said, this is the land that I'm going to give to you. And they were like, they're too big. It's too scary. He's like, all right, we'll do it the hard way, And so a trip that should have taken 11 days is now taking 40 years. Right. And so it's this idea of when God puts us in these places, whether it's our churches or our community groups or wherever, he's giving us an opportunity to do things his way, the easy way. Right? It may not always be, we'll say the simple way, because it may not always be easy. Because with service comes sacrifice. We understand that. Or at least we should understand that in some way, shape, or form. And so when we're talking about ways that we serve, even in our local church, when it's okay, what does service mean? Service is, toddlers on Sunday morning. That is sacrifice. And it's not sacrifice in the most huge and meaningful way, but you and I were even talking about this just the other day, yesterday maybe, about Easter. Hey, what are we doing on Easter? What is our are we going to serve on Easter? Where are we going to serve on Easter? And even some of the conversations that we were having were like, well, where do we serve so that ... And the ... dots for us were so that we can be in worship, so that we can sit together with our families, so that we can ... which these things are not bad things.
Right.
They're
especially
not evil.
when with our kids, the ages that they are.
Yeah.
If we had teenagers who could be trusted to sit quietly by themselves.
But we also understand, specifically as it pertains to Easter, that the childcare side of things is the hardest thing to fill. So what would be the most loving and serving thing for us to do? Work in the childcare area. And so
again,
that's probably what we haven't had this conversation yet, but
I'm learning things right now about
probably what we're going to end up doing.
Plans next Sunday.
because of the way that you and I, we're 2 weeks away, because of the way that you and I,
it's not like this weekend, but the next one.
Yes. Yeah. Because of the way that you and I view service, and it's not just, like, I'm looking dead in the camera here. It's not just at your church. Okay. That's not what we're talking about. That is a portion of service. Mm-hmm. If you think that serving the Lord only means I do these things inside of my church building on X day of the week that my church meets to do whatever it does, that's not it. It's so much more than that. How are you serving the Lord and seeing His will be done, not yours, on earth as it is in heaven, in the space that you find yourself in on a daily basis, right? Like throughout the week. So again, I think that comes down to the consumeristic thing too. Like, all right, I'm going to come to church and you're going to give me service opportunity. That's part of why I'm here, is to get service opportunity. When we're like, no, sweetie, like we will, I promise you that we will, but you also have to do that stuff when you're not here. That's important. That's part of you growing without us having to hold your hand. Because you start to read off in scripture and, get into the New Testament and all sorts of really, really wonderful and amazing and, just spiritually rich stuff. And Paul is like, stop with the milk. Stop it. You want us to feed you. You want us to do all this stuff, but you need meat now. And part of meat means hunting and going out and doing stuff and getting your hands dirty and figuring things out and learning how to do all the things that are around that. Like, it's important that we as Christians, and if you're not a Christian, please enjoy this peek behind the curtain of at least how we feel we should be thinking about things. We don't always operate this way either. We like canned Bible studies. We like things that are plated for us. We like, neatly put together Bible reading plans and all sorts of things where we can just kind of plug in and go. But at the end of the day, if we're not engaging in our own spiritual growth, and if we're only looking for what we can get out of these experiences, then we totally miss the entire thing. The Beatitudes no longer hold any weight. You might as well just skip over, the first good portion of Matthew while you're reading the Bible, because it's all about other people and how you treat them. And so, I don't know, like all of these things just start to kind of bubble to the surface. And as we kind of wrap up this section, it's important to us that we think about these things. And so when Anna and I bring up these topics on this podcast, it's because we're talking about these things like in our life. Literally, this was sparked by a conversation of us just driving down the road, not going, okay, what's the hot topic that everybody wants to talk about? We did it. We talked about Taylor Swift at the top.
Oh yeah,
we got it out. We got it out of the way. But the spiritual stuff is like, these are things that not just we've dealt with, but we've watched people in our community deal with. We built our own small group on the backs of people not being able to get out of like pouring into things, right? Like it was a lack of what are they getting out of this? Mm-hmm, and so like we're attacking this from all sorts of different angles. And so if there's there's something for you that has worked, please let us know. Either let Anna and I know personally if you know us, or hit us up on social media at Love Thy Nerd. I almost said exclamation point. That's a Twitch stream thing. I didn't mean to say it like that. Hashtag Church Nerds, so that we can find those and distill that information. But it's super helpful to us if you share your experiences with us, because we have the testimonies of each other, that even if I don't have a story for something, I would love to have your story to be able to draw off of as well.
Well, I mean, I never got back to, I talked about something
Swift.
In one hand, but not the tension of the other.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tensions to be managed.
Well, just, there's all of that is something that God's people are supposed to be doing, and we will be blessed. I think that what we hold in that intention with is our own tendency to walk into a space and feel like we have a right to that thing, or that we have earned that thing somehow. And then it becomes a sort of weird works situation. But kind of the last little thing that I was thinking about is that church involvement, if we're talking about church here, like church involvement, we really need to think of it more on like a long-term investment level than a lottery ticket, like, haul. That it's sometimes there are going to be portions of it where we feel rich and blessed and all of these things, but there really are going to be some times when
just eat your money.
We have to serve through the hard, or we have to show up and feel like I got nothing out of that worship set. I hate all of these lights, or I wish there were better lights. Yep. Just depending on what kind of a thing you like. Because we've been in both of those kinds of situations. And it can be hard either way.
And we'll be in them again.
Yep.
Like that's the thing is we've not reached the top of the mountain as far as this stuff is concerned, or as far as anything's concerned for that matter. So again, we just want to start the conversation, kind of give you an idea of where our head's at, and maybe you can have some really good conversations with the people in your friend group or your family or your small group at your church or whatever. Doesn't matter to us. We just hope that these are spurring on conversations where you find yourself. Hey, we're going to wrap up our show. And before we do that, we like to offer, I guess we haven't done this the last couple of times, but normally on Church Nerds, we will offer you a nerdy recommendation. And this one is super duper selfish because...
A little bit. It's mostly selfish because I couldn't think of an actual thing to push that had to do with this episode. Well, the nerdy recommendation doesn't necessarily have to do with the episode. Like not everything has to be like, this isn't VBS, right? Like we're not just cramping everything. I like it to be thematic. Yeah. I do. The arcade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's not what you typed here, but yes, the arcade. You changed it.
I remembered what we talked about.
In the moment that I looked up, and then looked back down, it changed in the notes.
Yes.
And that's totally fine. Yeah, the arcade.
I don't even know if this link that I typed exists.
It is not. So I'm just going to say, go to lovethynerd.com/Discord. And in our Discord server, there's a section called the arcade. Now, way back when, the arcade used to be, it was a podcast, shocker. Matt
it was the origin of the Free Play podcast.
It actually, yes, it was the predecessor to that. It has a lot of different things, but it's the final iteration of it was Matt, Kate, and myself. Mm-hmm. And so then that moved into the Free Play podcast. But what it is now is it's a series of spaces where people can get together, play games. We have, a lot of audio channels that you can get into. And then if you want to stream your video content or, video games that you're playing or whatever, you can do that in there as well. We just create space for you to experience a digital arcade. Because here's the thing. This is my entire idea behind it. And I've talked with Caffeine, who is our community manager, and with Matt, who oversees all that stuff as a CPO. And I've talked with Silver about it when she was doing community management. The idea behind that is that when you go to the arcade, you just show up there. Mm-hmm. And boom, you start playing a game. And maybe somebody's there also playing a game. Maybe they're not. It doesn't really matter. You're there to play games. So not everything is always publicized or talked about. But sometimes you do tell your friends, hey, I'm going to be at the arcade, Saturday from, noon to 5, right? Or whatever. And so you can set up a time to meet somebody there and play a game, or just meet them there and play whatever you want to play. And that's the beauty of it, is that we're on the internet now, so you can play whatever you want to play.
Can I show up there and cook dinner with people?
You can. Okay. Wow, that's wild. You absolutely can. A lot of people are doing watch parties these days.
Used to.
She had a cooking stream.
Yeah, I don't think it was on the arcade, but similar. Yeah.
Another thing you can do at the arcade is you can have your birthday party at the arcade. So you can plan actual events.
Has somebody really had their birthday party at the arcade?
At our arcade?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No. Okay. But the idea is that you can have actual...
I was getting so excited for a second.
I'll do your birthday at the arcade.
Okay.
You can have actual events at an arcade. And so with our arcade, we're going to have actual events as well that are in our Discord that you can see under the events tab and all sorts of stuff.
Will there be party hats?
Only party hats.
Candles?
Nope, just party hats.
Kazoos?
Just party hats.
Rats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Party hat shaped kazoos.
My birthday party last year was a gardening party.
It was. Oh my gosh. Hey, we're still actually...
It was a good party.
Yeah, it's still...
10 out of 10 stars.
We should talk about our backyard on one of these.
Okay.
We'll do it next episode. We'll figure out a way to banter about that. It's kind of wild right now. But hey, go check out the arcade. It is a section in our Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, do yourself a favor. Go to lovethynerd.com and just search Discord. Okay. We have some really cool articles and videos that help you to understand what and why is Discord. And you can find all that stuff there. And if you have any questions, please ask me. Don't ask Anna. She's hardly ever on the thing, but you can ask me.
I am the worst person to ask about Discord.
I'm on Discord a lot. So I would love to help you understand that. The baseline of it is that is where our community exists. We have a Facebook group. We have other social media accounts, but we believe that true community happens on Discord. So if you have any questions about that, let us know.
True community. Yikes. That was like real. Everywhere else is fake.
I mean, for us, it's the most deep-seated community that we have outside of IRL.
Okay, well, all right.
It's not Facebook, I'll tell you that much.
I have a Church Nerds memory verse for you. Philippians 2:3-4 says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of the others." Good one. Thank you for coming up with that.
I didn't write it.
You came up with I did not select this this time.
Yeah.
I did a lot of other stuff for this show, but that was where I just drew blank this time.
Yeah, we each have our crosses to bear as far as the show is concerned. I
wrote this entire episode, by the way, last night during Pi Day, because for us that was yesterday at the time of this recording. I had decided that our 3-year-old was going to go to bed early because he was cranky. And this spring break has been brutal as far as the bedtimes are concerned. He's been staying up way too late. And I was like, it's too many nights of late bedtimes. We need to go to bed early and get more sleep. Except that his little body has become trained to stay up until 10 p.m. because also it's the first week of daylight savings time.
Oh my gosh.
So,
dude,
it is, our bodies are
wrecked.
Like our internal clocks completely jacked right now.
I mean,
and especially his. So I was like, we're going to go to bed early. Guess who did not go to sleep early? PJ Stallcup. That little boy.
He went to bed real late.
Oh my goodness.
10?
He was awake so late. Yeah, something like that. And I was like, I came out when he'd finally fallen to sleep and was like, he is down. Also, the entire podcast episode is written because I didn't know what else to do.
That's a win-win. Yeah, I'll take it.
Bruh, that was rough. I know there are parents out there who just put their children down in their beds and then walk away. You are not looking at one of those parents right now.
You're not looking at two of those parents right now.
Can't do it.
Nope.
I can't listen to the screaming. We are enablers all the way.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember when, because this is how our boys operate.
Yeah.
Nene, she would just lay down. I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
I call that a unicorn child.
Yep.
Because in my experience, they are incredibly rare. They are not the norm.
Yeah. I also learned not too long ago that unicorn was more than likely rhinoceros.
Okay.
This would be
Okay.
Unicorn. So yeah, try and think about that. Try not to think about that next time somebody says unicorn.
Less graceful.
Yeah, it's
but
different.
I only exclusively want to see rainbow rhinoceroses.
Well, now it makes it a little bit more believable that they were on the ark, didn't it? Got him. Hey, anyway, we're going to wrap up this episode here. Thank you so much again for spending just a little bit of your time with us here on the Church Nerds podcast. I don't know what episode this is. 91?
91.
Episode
meow,
91
meow, meow.
of the Church Nerds podcast. Again, do us a favor.
3 episodes on time.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Good job, us.
Boom. Well, to be fair, Radio Matt is kind of riding me about it. So
excellent.
he'd be like, "Hey, you gonna get that? That episode?"
We've been on time. We've been on time.
And I mean, again, this is just for nobody other than just us. We're working in a new program. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Notion. We'll talk about Notion, I'm sure, a lot.
That can be next podcast.
Yeah. It's helping to keep me on task, which is then annoying everybody else and kind of keeping them, at least because of the newness of it, abreast of the situation, what's going on.
Okay.
So
cool.
That being said, hey, we got another episode in 2 weeks for you. And that will be, I guess it'll be our post-Easter episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Unless we're doing another special Easter episode, but it doesn't make much sense.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be serving children.
Yeah, we'll talk all about our Easter experiences. So if we want to hear from you, don't forget to let us know what your Easter experience was. What happened at your church? What was the crazy thing that happened? Because there will be a crazy thing that happened.
One time, we released butterflies.
Oh, boy.
As like a
Save it.
Okay.
It's good. It's so good.
I will not tell you what happened until later.
Next episode. Please set the hook. Come back next one. You're going to want to hear about that. We had some wild stuff. And I want to hear about yours. What are the wildest, craziest things that happened in your Easter services, no matter where they are, or a story that you heard about a really cool one? But we're going to get out of here. Do yourself a favor. Go to lovethynerd.com. Find all of the hundreds of hours worth of content that we have out there. And we've not talked about this yet, but we are now on Glue, GLU, God Loves You Network. You can go and...
Oh, okay.
Yep.
There are multiple glues.
Yes. And so you can go and check that out. And basically what that is it is a curated Christian network for video content. And so we're one of the featured creators on there.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So you
That's
can go
exciting.
there. If you have, Roku or a smart TV or anything that lets you download apps, then you can go and check that out. It's also, I believe, on Apple TV and Google Play Store and all those things. And they're working on a bunch of different apps. But it would help us out, and it would also help you out if you just want to have content that you can play without worrying about what is going to be on your television. You can go play the Love Thy Nerd stuff on Glue, GLU.
It is not a Taylor Swift concert.
Not yet. But maybe we'll see. I don't know. She's kind of influencing the world as it is. But you can go check that out. And the links to all that stuff will be in the show notes and description below on this video and this podcast page. Once again, I'm Bubba Stallcup.
I'm Anna, and this is Tom Nook,
the Crook. And hey, we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Church Nerds podcast. And if no one else tells you this, just remember it's true. Tell them, Tom. Jesus loves you, nerds.